That's my first AI introduction. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Russell, and thank you, Jessica. Nice to see you all. Nice to be here in Atlanta, Hotlanta, I guess, at the moment. In the next, however long we've got together, I know we're already running behind, we're going to spend some time talking about the future of AI. I help businesses around the world to plan for what's coming next, so we're not all surprised. You've already heard a bit about me. This is the why you should listen to Steve's slide. Oh, my microphone's going in and out. That's not good. So yes, I've spent a lot of time as a futurist, both working at Intel. I'm trained as an engineer, but I spent a lot of time in the business, working in businesses, managing businesses. And I'm in awe of what you do and what you make possible. Small businesses are the backbone of the American economy. And you make that possible for many thousands of people. So thank you for everything that you do. I'm really glad to be here, and I hope that I can help you with what I'm talking about today. Yeah, I've worked with lots of people. There we go. What I'm going to tell you today, and hopefully bring to life for you, is that I think we will see potentially more change in the next 5 years, more technologically driven change than in the last 50. For those of you who are old enough to remember, the movies that were in the charts 50 years ago were Jaws and The Towering Inferno. 50 years is a long time. We may see more technologically driven change in the next 5 years than the last 50. Now, why do I think things are going to change so dramatically? I think we are about to see the dawning of a new industrial era. Now, there are two things that can define an industrial era: a new material, think Bronze Age, Stone Age, and so on. But usually, and particularly more recently, it's been a general purpose technology. So think of electricity. It's lighting this stage right now, this PowerPoint presentation, I have an electric car. Right? You can use electricity to do lots of different things. What defines an industrial era is when the cost of a general purpose technology heads down towards zero. It doesn't get to zero, but it gets to the point where you don't really care too much about the cost of using it. What we're about to see is the emergence of the cognitive revolution, where the cost of powerful, capable intelligence heads down towards zero. Think what you can do in your businesses if you could have intelligence on demand in as much supply as you needed. And the cost of that was negligible. That's what's going to change everything about everything. In the first few eras, sort of phases of the Industrial Revolution, we spent time building mechanical muscles, building machines to do physical work for us, to stand in for human stamina and strength. What we're building now is mechanical minds, electrical minds that will complement our intelligence and work alongside us to help us get things done. Now, as a futurist, sometimes you have to look back at the past to become inspired about what might happen next in the future. So when I think about what might be coming next, I'm always looking backward to see, okay, what can we see in the past to help us frame what's coming next? If you think about the last 25 years, the technology or group of technologies that has most shaped the way that we all work and live our lives is the internet. But it's not like, back in 1998, you could get a URL. I got a .com. Check. I have done the internet. Right? There was a little bit more to it than that. And there were waves of technology that came, and you had to learn how to surf each one. So when e-commerce came, if you're shipping product, you had to figure out fulfillment. You had to figure out digital payments, digital marketing with social media and dealing with reviews. The cloud came, and suddenly all the software, we used to get software on CDs and in boxes, remember that? Suddenly now it's all in the cloud and constantly updating. You can store lots of information in the cloud. Then the mobile came, and you had to figure out how do you reach people with the devices in their pockets and purses. How do you enable people in the field? By giving them a mobile device. And now we're figuring out what's the role of Web 3. in the businesses of the future. So over 25 years, you've seen many of these waves. Artificial intelligence is no different. Artificial intelligence is not a monolithic technology. It is a set of technologies, and we're going to have waves and waves of innovation that hit us over time. It started out in the 1980s and 90s with expert systems. These were not really that intelligent. What we were trying to do with those was hand code rules. So hand coding human intelligence. Didn't work out very well because it's not very scalable. The big breakthrough was machine learning, which is machines that can learn from being given examples. They can find patterns in data and infer their own rules. So you're able to build and scale systems much more quickly. That led us to things like perception AI, so machine vision capabilities and natural language processing. Alexa, close the blinds. Now we're in the generative AI era, and that sort of kicked off in most people's consciousness when ChatGPT hit the market back in November of 2022. Where we are now, we're in the reasoning AI era. We'll talk about that in about 15 minutes from now. And then I'll also talk about the waves that are coming next. So the waves that are going to shape your businesses. Agentic AI, spatial AI, and then we'll finish up with some robots because, you know, we're talking about the future. My job in the next 50 minutes or so is to get you ready so you can surf each of these waves as they come all of our way. Because this stuff is coming at us all, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. So here's the plan. I'm going to talk to you about AI today. I'm guessing some people in the audience here have some level of understanding of AI today and what it can do, some less so. So I'll just sort of ground us all in what AI can do today. Then I'll tell you where we're going next. What's the trajectory that we're on, and it is happening faster than any of us thought it might. And then finally wrap up with some next steps. What should you be doing to engage and participate in this era so you don't get left behind, both for your business and for you personally? Now, as we go through these slides, there's going to be some QR codes up on the screen. They link to apps and software platforms you might find interesting. I don't share my slides either. So if there's something you see on the screen, you're welcome to take pictures, post them on social media. If it's just something you want to remember and stick it in notes, you're welcome to do that. So let's jump in and talk about AI today. This is the most technical we're going to get today. So there are two main flavors of AI. There's what I would call classic AI, traditional neural networks. And they're also, the term of art in the industry is discriminative AI. It doesn't mean they discriminate against people. It means that they can sort data into groups, discriminating one group, another group. Also known as predictive AIs. And these AIs have been around for a long time. They've been used in American businesses for 15 years or so. What's got everybody's attention is the new flavor, which is generative AI, based on large language models, multimodal large language models, which means they understand language, but they also understand images and videos and that sort of thing. That's what makes them multimodal. I'll explain more about those in a moment. But for now, let's just focus on classic AI. Been around 15 years. You use it every single day, multiple times a day, perhaps without even knowing it. So the types of applications: spam filtering. Every time you open your inbox, AI is in the background taking care of things for you. Machine vision, handwriting recognition, speech recognition, facial recognition, all of those types of things. So it's used for finding patterns in oceans of data. Humans are quite good at finding patterns, but when there's a lot of data, it's really hard for us to see them. So for AIs, that's easy, because they're able to scale what they can do. So think about underwriting. Human underwriters look for patterns in data. Is somebody going to be a good loan or not? Are they going to be a good risk for a loan? Sometimes AI, when it's deployed in that way, will find patterns in the data for people who a human underwriter would reject. But the AI will know and see that pattern and say, oh no, that person is still a good risk for us to take. So people who are underwriting in this business and using AI are able to find low-risk people that other people wouldn't touch, which is good for those people, but also it's good business for them. just for finding patterns in data. So let me give you some examples of the types of things you can do with this classic AI. I mentioned spam. What AI is good at doing is what's called classification. Spam, not spam. And the way it does that is it's been trained with millions of examples of spam and not spam. And it's able to recognize, and mostly, whoop, that's my clicker. Would you be kind enough to throw that back up to me? What a nice guy. Thank you, Matthew. A round of applause for Matthew. Bit of audience participation there. I'll try and throw it to somebody else this time. Right. So it's classifying spam or not spam. And you can use it to do all sorts of classification tasks. Regression, it's a very weird word. It's a way of saying you're going to, instead of sorting into groups, you're trying to find an ultimate number. So for example, you might have data that says the location of a home, how many bedrooms it has, how many bathrooms it has, does it have a garage, is it a double garage, all that data. And the AI will estimate, based on all the other pricing data it has, what the correct value of that home is. So regression gets you to a number based on data points. Then there's clustering. Every time you use Amazon or Walmart online and you get that recommendation that says, people who enjoyed these products also liked, that's clustering in the background. It's saying people who enjoyed these things also will enjoy these things. Same as happening with Netflix and Hulu and all those other apps. And then there's prediction. All AI is ultimately just making predictions. It's making predictions that this is probably spam, this is probably not spam. So you can use AI to also make predictions for future demand. You can make predictions over whether a customer is at high risk of churn or not, based on observing their behaviors. So you can use AI to do all kinds of prediction tasks in your business. So let's give you a few examples. I'm a visual person. I want to show you some visual things. I need to be careful because you've all just eaten and we're in a windowless room. But here's an AI counting sheep, just doing simple object recognition. This is a slightly more complicated one. This is used in logistics and warehousing environments from a company called Voxel. And what the AI is doing here, it's not just looking for a person in an image. It's looking for naughty behavior. People who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So you can see there's someone not wearing their harness correctly, someone that's driving their forklift like an idiot. There's cleanup on aisle 3. So you're looking for potential safety issues where you might want to intervene and hopefully avoid a workers' comp claim or just keep your workforce safe. And by the way, people that have implemented these types of technologies, they've seen their workers' comp claims and injuries drop by over 60%. So AI is a great way to get eyes on your business and intervene when there's an event. So you're looking for particular events you can intervene on. Here's an example of AI being used to optimize things. And there's a class of AIs which is just great at optimizing the operations of your business. This one I thought might be interesting to some of you. It's a company called Routific. It's used by FedEx. And in the Central Valley in California, FedEx used to roll 20 ground trucks, FedEx ground trucks. Once they implemented this Routific software, which looked at where the deliveries needed to be, and it optimized the routes for those, what they were able to do was take 5 of those trucks off the road and save 17% in their costs. So it's pretty impressive what you can do with these types of AI optimizations. Here's another optimization. This is a fun company called Tastery. Full disclosure, I was so impressed with them that I actually invested, and I'm meeting the CEO for dinner tonight in New York. What they do is they help the wine industry, actually the wine and beverage industry, to build the ultimate blends. So if you go and buy a bottle of Veuve Clicquot, it's blended from different vintages of champagne over the years. To get that consistency, it takes people figuring out how to blend things to try and give you a consistent flavor year after year. This AI it's a chemistry lab combined with an AI, and it is able to help people blend the optimal flavor profile from all the different barrels of wine. It also has data on taste profiles. They checked the taste profiles of 100,000 people across America. And they were able to extrapolate that, and they know with precision now based on a lab test of a wine or a spirit or a ready-to-go drink, which palate in America, which parts of the country are going to be most receptive to that drink. And it even helps with targeting the marketing at the right people. If you go into some Total Wines, you can actually take a test with this, and it will guide you to a bottle of wine that you are going to like based on the taste buds in your mouth, which is pretty cool. So anyway, just an example. You can use AI for doing all kinds of optimizations in all kinds of industries. So that's all the classic AI. This has been around for 10, 15 years. What's new and sexy now is generative AI. And generative AI, it uses a new technology at its core of a large language model called a transformer. It was invented by Google back in 2017. Think of it as a translator that can translate between different domains. So you can put text in and get an image out. Put a video in and get a text description out. Put a question in and get an answer out. Put English language in, get French out, or Spanish, or Chinese. So you can sort of translate between domains using these large language models. And you can use it for all kinds of things. And I'm going to show you a video to bring a lot of these to life for you in a few minutes. But this is what's got everybody's attention, and this is the base upon which more value is now going to be built. Let me give you a few examples of generative AI in action. I love shoes. I have a shoe problem. Anybody else here with a shoe problem? Yes, okay. Interesting, a lot of men put their hand up there. Usually it's the women who think they have a problem. No, men, we're bad too. Discount Shoe Warehouse, kid in a candy store. They have many, 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 many SKUs, and to write a description for each of those SKUs used to take a lot of time. Now they put a few images of the shoe into an AI, and it writes the description for them. So when you go to the website and read those descriptions, they were written by AI. Here's a fun example. This is a technology called generative design. What you're seeing here, that weird green structure you see, that's the internal skeleton of the bulkhead of an A320 aircraft. Now, weight matters on a plane. United Airlines figured out that if every one of their passengers took Ozempic and lost 10 pounds, it would save them $80 million a year in fuel. There is a reason they give you they give you pretzels now and not peanuts. It's not because we love the peanut people and don't want them to die, although that is a good reason. It is because pretzels weigh less than peanuts. Weight matters on a plane. So those bulkheads, they're not just there to divide the plane up, they're actually there to hold the plane together. There's a really important structural function. So they're bolted to the top and bottom of the fuselage, and they hold the cylinder together. So they have to be able to handle all sorts of tensile strength, but they also want to optimize for weight and cost. So what you're seeing here, that really weird structure, that's not something you can imagine a human would design on their own, right? Neither is it a design that an AI came up with. It is a collaboration between a human designer and an AI working together. The way it works is the human designer comes up with the initial design, the AI riffs on it, comes up with literally thousands of alternatives, and then comes back to the designer and says, hey, if you changed it this way, it will maximize for the design parameters that you gave me. So when you next ride on an A320, the bulkhead was co-designed between a human and a machine. Now, I tell you this long story because that should be the goal in your businesses. How can you find ways to pair humans with machines to get to a better result than either of them could get to alone? If you can do that, you're going to win in the marketplace, and you're going to grow your business. So let me bring this to life for you with a little video. So what I'm going to show you is an example of a few different ways you can use AI today and in the very near future. And at the end, you're going to see some AI-generated video, including AI-generated video that has AI-generated sound and voices on it too. So I'll let you enjoy it.
force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light.
I'm one with nature now.
Nature would prefer some personal space.
Where were you on the night of the bubble bath?
According to this old sea chart, the lost island isn't myth.
So AI is a pretty impressive tool that you can use to generate all kinds of things. And my challenge to you at the end of that video I made was, what are you going to generate? What will you use it to create? These are the structures of proteins. When I worked at DeepMind, I was part of the launch of AlphaFold 2. AlphaFold 2 was an AI to accurately predict the shape of proteins. And proteins are the building blocks of life. So they make your body work. My muscles are moving now because of proteins. Signals are being passed around your body with proteins. And a lot of diseases are because something's gone wrong. Proteins aren't doing what they should do properly. So understanding the structure of proteins, the same way as when you know what a machine looks like, you can kind of figure out what it does. Proteins are the same way. So understanding the structure of these beautiful looking shapes helps researchers to figure out how proteins can go wrong and how to develop drugs to address diseases in humans. There are about 10,000 diseases of humans. And there are 20,000 proteins that make up your body. In total, there are about 200 million proteins. Now, before AI, figuring out the structure of one protein took a PhD about 5 years. So 5 years, one PhD working to get one protein structure. This AI that DeepMind developed was able to decode the structures of all 200 million known structures of proteins and therefore do 1 billion PhD hours of work in less than a year. So now, and by the way, Google gave all that information away to the scientific community for free. So that is going to turbocharge the development of medicines and drugs for the next 10 years, and we're all going to benefit. So AI can really accelerate all kinds of things. You can develop all kinds of things. Microsoft is working on a technology called MatterGen, which you tell it what kind of material you're looking for, and it will help you to develop new materials, new crystalline structures. So you're going to see AIs that develop new metals, new alloys. We may get new battery substances that will make our cars go further, will make our phones charge faster, and so on. So it's not just about generating videos and images, although that's pretty cool. People will use AI to generate all kinds of things. So we're already seeing protein structures, new materials, new alloys. What's coming next? Synthetic organisms, potentially. If that sounds scary, what I'm talking about is enzymes that we can drop into the ocean to gobble up and eat all the microplastics. So you design an enzyme that all it does is eat plastic and die. Great. And the next thing will be AIs that can help us generate new ideas, new novel inventions, maybe create patents, come up with new ideas, new economic models for how we're going to live in the future. So all sorts of potential, and really it's about what ideas do we have for where we can put AI to work for us. One of the things you should be thinking about in your business is how to unlock the value in the data that you have. Hopefully, you've been gathering data for years on your operations. You should think about data, today's data, as the rocket fuel for tomorrow's AIs. And AI will allow you to unlock value that's trapped and hidden inside that data and put it to work to do useful things for you in your business. And the way you do that is you can either create customer service agents or enterprise agents to support the people who are working in your organizations. So you look at all the different sources of proprietary company data that you have, customer data, product data, support ticket data. There's tons of data in every business. What you can do is connect that to an AI and make it easy to surface for whoever needs it. So a customer who has an inquiry about a product or has a support ticket inquiry, maybe you can help them out without a human having to intervene. Or maybe you can partner an AI with one of your customer support people to help them do a better job supporting customers. I'll give you an example of that later on. So this is how you can take the data in your business and use a technique called RAG or MCP, doesn't matter the details, but you can use it to connect your data to AIs and unlock value in that. And I encourage you all to be thinking about, what is my data strategy? How is my data organized? Is it clean? Do I have all the data I need to deliver the AI experiences that I'm imagining? If I don't, where do I get it from? How do I partner? How do I start gathering this data? How do I keep it secure? How do I deal with privacy? All the things. Every AI strategy starts with a data strategy. And that brings us up to today, ladies and gentlemen. So let's now go and step into the future and see what's coming next. The Futurist is here, so future boy better deliver. So let's go and see what's coming next. I'm going to talk about 3 waves: agentic AI, spatial AI, and then physical AI after that. Before I can talk about agentic AI, I need to explain a little bit about reasoning AIs. So there's a great book, came out a couple of years ago, 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago. I'm getting old. Time whizzes by more quickly. Called Thinking Fast and Slow. Anybody here read it? A few? It's a great book, right? And it describes the 2 different ways that our brains work. So if I ask you a question, what's 2 plus 2? 4, very good. I did that the other day, and it was just silence. Like, what's wrong with you? Yes, 4, very well done. And you didn't really have to think much about that, right? It was a reflexive response. You're able to just retrieve the information. Most AIs today, if you use ChatGPT-4, they still use only System 1 thinking. Right? It's just reflexive retrieval. There's no reasoning behind it. System 2 thinking, if I ask you, how many golf balls fit inside a Toyota Camry? No, right? You don't know the answer. I don't know the answer either. But you probably could start to figure it out. Right? You break it down. What's the size of a golf ball? Okay, what's the volume? Okay, what's the internal? Okay, you can start to figure out roughly what the answer might be. Excuse me. That is System 2 thinking. Breaking a complex task down and reasoning your way through to find a solution. The newer AIs, so O1 and O3 from OpenAI, and to some extent the new stuff from Google, the Gemini models, they do this reasoning capability. They will actually think a little bit. So they do what's called chain of thought. So you have to have this reasoning capability as a foundation for you then to add agent capabilities. Now, what is an agent? Agent is just a smart piece of software. That's all it is. But it has an AI at its core, so it has a large language model at its core, and it has some reasoning capabilities. It also has a perception module, so it can actually understand a little bit about your context. And that perception module might be connected to a sensor, or more likely, if it's running on your laptop, it's going to be able to see your screen, so it can, or at least see the browser, so it can use it. It has a memory module, so it can remember not only your preferences and your likes and dislikes, so it can get to service you better over time, but also so that it can learn from its own mistakes. So it will get better at doing what you ask it to do as it practices and learns from its mistakes. It has a planning capability, so it uses that reasoning to be able to plan how it's going to perform the task that you've asked it to do. And then finally, it has an action module, which allows it to have agency. That's why it's called an agent. It has agency. It can do things in the world. So it can use tools to do things. It could be a tool to search the web. It could be a tool to press a button in your browser. It could be a tool to use your wallet, whatever it might be, with your permission. So that's what agents are, a fancy piece of software. Now, these agents are going to be able to handle quite complex tasks. So you might say, I want you to design me a marketing campaign for a new product we have. Here's the details of the product. Here's the people, the target audience we want to go after. Here's your budget. Go. The agent will then go away, and it might realize, you know what? I need help here. So it might spawn other agents so they can work together. So there might be the sort of marketing agent, but underneath that, there'll be the content creation agent to create assets. There'll be one that handles the social media strategy, one that handles the broadcast TV strategy, one that oversees the finances. And then they come back to you 10 or 15 minutes later with a full plan. Before they do that, they might realize, you know what? We should get this run by legal. So then they'll go to the legal agent, run it by the legal agent, and it'll come back to you fully formed and blessed by legal. So that's the type of complex task I'm talking about, where agents are going to reason their way through things, they're going to have some level of autonomy, and they'll learn over time through self-reflection, and will get better and better over time. And we could be moving into a world of 1 trillion agents. Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, was asked, you know, what do you imagine for the future of NVIDIA? NVIDIA is probably the biggest company in the world, I think, by valuation right now, the chip company for AI. And he said, you know, we've got 32,000 employees now. Over time, I can see us going to maybe 50,000 employees, but supported by 100 million agents. So imagine every employee in your organization, imagine you having many, many agents that help you do what you need to do. 1 trillion agents amongst us. And they're going to be all sorts of different flavors of agent, tuned for doing different tasks. So you might have a research assistant to help you figure stuff out and do research for you online. You can already find those agents available from OpenAI and Google. You might have a project management agent, a travel agent, a personal mood agent, a health coach. You know, or imagine any type of agent that you might want. People are going to design these agents. So there's just a few ideas of what I think is coming all of our way pretty soon. And I think you'll find these agents fall into 3 broad categories: offload, elevate, and extend. So what do I mean by that? Offload is simple. An agent that takes something you don't want to do and does it for you. Book me a flight, da-da-da-da-da, right? Offload. And these agents, I think, are going to be the go-to for a lot of developers. That's where they're going to put their energy first. And I think these types of agents, the way it was described to me is quite beautiful, they will take the suck out of your jobs. Because the things that you hate, we all have things we hate doing, right? These will take the suck out of our jobs. Then there's elevate agents. Remember the example I gave you of the A320 bulkhead? That is an example of elevate. It's an agent that works in partnership with us as a co-worker to elevate our performance. And then finally, there's an extend agent. These will be much rarer, but I think when people get these right, these will be phenomenal. Extending our abilities so that we can do things we could not do without the agent's support. Or in some cases, mitigating for problems that we have. To somebody who doesn't see very well, an agent that helps to describe for them what's in front of them. Someone who doesn't hear very well, putting subtitles in their glasses so they can now connect more fully with the world. Let me give you an example of what an agent might look like. And this is a fairly old video, but just sort of imagine what this might grow into over time. It's what I call a visual task guide. It's one category of these agents. It's an example from Microsoft, and it's them working in partnership with Volvo Penta. Volvo Penta, if you don't know, they make marine engines, so engines for boats. So I'll give you an example of somebody who's a technician working to repair something or to build something and being guided through the process step by step. So let's roll the video.
Copilot, can you show me the procedure to replace the pre-fill filter?
Step 1. Remove the water separator sensor connector.
Next.
Step 2. Undo the drain valve in the base of the water separator.
Copilot, can you show me an exploded...
Knowledge is gained by consistent learning. Volvo Penta embraces technologies that enable employees to confidently work smarter, more efficiently, and safer.
is an example of somebody who is learning how to do something for the first time. So if you have high turnover, and this is a great way of sort of pairing a knowledge base with a person so they can be productive. They don't have to go through a 12-week training course to be useful. They actually can be useful day one and just be guided, a bit slower to begin with. But they're going to learn skills over time. Or maybe for a very experienced worker who's just never seen that particular piece of equipment before. So these digital workers, these agents, what are they going to be like? They're going to feel like PhD level, super smart, but really naive. If you've met any PhD people, they're also quite naive. So it's quite on the money. So PhD level, but super naive interns that make mistakes and need your oversight. They'll get better over time, but they're not going to be perfect. But they're still going to be more useful to work with than if you didn't have to. Right? They're going to save you time, and they're going to help you to do things you couldn't do without their help. So they'll help you do complex tasks, they'll do research for you, and they'll be able to use your computer. So if you think about all the things that you do with your computer, and how many of the jobs you do each day are computer-based, they'll be able to do a lot of those jobs for you and with you. Now initially, I think it's going to be a text interface, but very quickly it's going to move to voice. So it'll be like just talking to a person with a natural voice. And then after that, they're going to have a face. This is an avatar from a company called Synthesia. I think you're going to see more and more of this. So working with an agent is going to feel a bit like working with a constantly remote worker on a Zoom call. Here's an example of one, an early agent. This is from a company called Mega HR. If you do hiring, it will look at all of the resumes, it'll screen resumes, it'll shortlist them, it'll schedule interviews for you, it attends the interview and takes notes on the interview, so you get a summary of what happened, and it even gives feedback on the candidate of their suitability for the role based on the job description that you have for them. So sort of an all-encompassing agent that just helps you to do hiring. Here's an example from Stanford. I'm really testing the AV crew here because they're like, is this video coming or not? We don't know. We're going to dim the lights. We're going to just test them out. I'll give you a shout when it's going to be a video, okay? So an example from Stanford University. They are trying to stay up with what's happening with COVID. If you've heard of razor throat, anybody had razor throat yet? One of the guys backstage had it, so I'm now a candidate for having it. So what they're trying to do is stay ahead of these variants of the COVID virus to make sure that what they put in the vaccines is going to help knock them down for the particularly nasty variants. So what they did was they created an agent, a principal investigator agent. And they told it what its task was. You're going to help us understand the COVID variants and come up with strategies to help us defeat it. What do you want to do? Principal investigator said, I want to assemble a team, like Avengers assemble. So it assembled a team. It said it wanted an immunologist, a machine learning specialist, and a computational biologist. Now, to spin up those other agents, it was just a case of going to a ChatGPT or something similar and saying, you are now a machine learning specialist. OK. And it takes on that persona. So they set these four together in a meeting and said, you've got meetings, thrash it out. Have a conversation and come up with ideas. And they had some guidance from the human researcher, but they came up with some really useful guidance for the team at Stanford on how to think about the way that COVID might adapt in future. Here's another example, this time from Google, called Co-Scientist. For a long time, we've not been sure how superbugs evaded cleaning protocols in hospitals, so MRSA and those types of things that become antibiotic resistant. What they found was, and this took scientists 10 years of research to figure out, is that they form into tails. So they literally form into a link and then escape off a table and onto the floor. So they escape, that's how they do it. And it took 10 years to figure this out for human scientists. They explained this problem to an AI. It figured it out in 2 days. So from 10 years to 2 days. So these are going to be amazing partners to help us figure out answers to our business problems. So here's a few thoughts on what the agent era will mean for us all. First thing is, your next coworker could well be a machine. Also means a lot of search in the future is not going to be done by humans. It's going to be done by agents, acting on behalf of their humans. What that means is most web traffic will be agents. So if you are running the website for your businesses, you need to be thinking about front doors for humans and agents. How do you make it so that the content is searchable by an agent? You also need to remember that digital agents work for electrons. Now, electrons have a cost, but they work for the cost of the power to make them run. And competition is going to mean that that's going to head down literally to the cost of the electrons to run them. Imagine if you think about your best employee, what if you could clone them? That's what you can do with agents. If you design a perfect digital employee, you can make as many copies of them as you like and scale them across your organization. And when you're doing this, AI is different. For the last 40 years in IT has focused on productivity and efficiency. Productivity, efficiency, right? AI is different because it enables you to enhance other aspects of human performance. So don't think about productivity, think performance and all its vectors. Improving people's creativity, giving them better insight, boosting their intuition, helping them to make higher quality decisions, improving the quality of their output, and so on. For those of you who are like, oh, I want to build an agent, I've not used this. I think it looks good. It's a drag and drop way of building your own digital employee. At the moment, it's this drag and drop interface, and you can put code in there as well if you want. I think what happens next is this becomes an agent. You'll have an agent that you tell what kind of employee you want, and it will go and make it for you. Imagine that. So that's agents, and I think agents are going to roll out in the second half of this year and really be a massive thing in 2026. So starting this year and coming out later this year, coming out really big in 2026. Let's now talk about spatial AI and world models. I'm going to do this quite quickly, and then we'll do a bit of robots and then what this all means for us all. So spatial AI and world models, they're two related topics. Spatial AI means an AI that can understand physical space. So in the case of this cute robot here, it is giving the robot the ability to perceive there is a glass in front of me, there is a mug in my hand, right? Jug in my hand. That ability to understand physical space. The world model allows the robot to plan, if I tip the jug, milk will come out. It allows them to project in the future, understand the physics of the world, and to make a call on how to plan its actions to achieve the goals you've given it. Okay, so there's spatial AI and world models. So they enable machines to perceive the 3D world. Because at the moment, large language models understand the world through the lens of language. But these models understand objects, places, events, the interaction between objects and people, that sort of thing. And they understand physics and causality. We naturally understand that if I drop this, Matthew here will have to pick it up for me again, right? But machines don't necessarily understand that. So these are AIs that are trained on the physics of the world. And you need them for autonomous vehicles, which we hope are going to get better and better over time, next generation robotics, which I'll show you in a few minutes, and next generation assistants. Assistants that have the context of you and your physical space right now. Best way to bring this to life for you is to show you a video. This is a demonstration of what's called Project Astra. I'm not allowed to talk about what I worked on when I was at Google DeepMind. All I can tell you is I'm really proud of this video.
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
What does that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AESCBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
All right, give me a band name for this duo.
Golden Stripes.
Nice. Thanks, Gemini.
Every presentation should have at least one puppy, and you've had plenty of puppies today. So imagine using that kind of capability to help the people in your organization, especially people who are out in the field. Imagine what a visual AI could do to support them in the work that they do. I think we're about to go to a new form factor for the first time in 20 years or so, since we got mobile with the iPhone. I think you're going to see glasses that have AI capabilities built into them, so that the AI can see what you can see and help you with the context you have in the moment. And imagine putting even a mobile device with these types of capabilities that understand physical space. Think how you might be able to do estimation differently, think how you might be able to figure out what equipment is in front of you, and so on. So we've talked about agentic AI and spatial AI. Let's put those together, an agent that can understand the physical world and put it inside a robot. That's where you get physical AI. Now, I don't know how many of you would ever need physical robots in your organization, but I want to show you this so you get a feel for how fast this is going and how quickly this technology is moving forward. Now, you probably have a favorite android or robot from science fiction in your youth, right? I read lots of science fiction when I was a little boy, probably why I ended up doing what I'm doing now. But they've been trapped on the silver screen and in the pages of science fiction novels until now. So it's suddenly happening because a basket of technologies have all come together, most notably generative and agentic AI, but also fancy sensors, electric motors, better batteries, and so on, that enable all of this stuff to come together and make it possible to build a pretty decent robot. The other reason why now is there are 7.4 million open jobs as of the last data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. There aren't enough people to do the jobs that we need. How many here are having trouble hiring the people that they need to do the things that they do? Okay, some. And this is not going to get better. This is a structural issue. It is a demographic issue where there are not enough people, particularly not enough people willing to do physical jobs. And it's just going to get worse over time. So either you allow more immigration or you allow automation. Immigration kind of off the table right now, so automation it probably will be. And these robots are not your grandfather's robot. So this is the very first mobile robot. It's called Shaky from Stanford University in the 60s. This is what robots look like today. And the difference with these robots, it used to be you had to program a robot, say, move arm forward, down, grow up, left. You had step-by-step programming. Now, they will watch a human do a task or watch videos of a human do a task and learn from it. They practice then, and then they get the hang of it. And once one robot learns to do something, they all learn to do something. So again, the best way to do this is to just show you what these robots look like and what they can do. So here's a montage I put together for you. Now, as you watch this video, I want you to remember this is not a science fiction movie. These are real robots doing real robot things. What do you think? Yeah. Robots are as bad today as they're ever going to be. They're going to get better and better. The same way that AI today is the worst it's ever going to be. They're going to get better and better. And I think these humanoid robots, human-shaped robots, are going to change our relationship with physical labor forever. And you're going to see them in the corporate world, doing corporate labor, particularly in areas where there just aren't enough people to do the work. There are 2.3 billion consumer households in the world. I would like one to shake me a cold martini when I come in after a hard day. And ultimately, I think we're going to use them for asteroid mining, which people, that's still 25 years away, but it's probably going to be a place that these robots show up. One of the robots you saw in that video is from a company called Figure. They just turned 3 years old. They're worth $40 billion already. It can lift 20 kilos, so 32 pounds, 5-hour battery life, so not quite a shift yet, but pretty close. It walks at 2.7 miles an hour. Now, do you know why that's important? So you can outrun it. Very important. It learns by example, so you just show it and it learns, and you can speak to it. And I'm going to show you an example of its predecessor, Figure 1, with someone interacting with it. So you can hear it not only will take your commands, but it explains its rationale. And I've tightened this video for time.
Hey, Figure 1, what do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great. Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Based on the scene right now, where do you think the dishes in front of you go next?
The dishes on the table, like that plate and cup, are likely to go into the drying rack next.
Great. Can you put them there?
Of course.
In volume, these robots could cost $25,000 to $30,000 each. So you could probably lease one for $300 a month. And we could be entering a world of 10 billion robots. I don't know what the time frame for that is. Bank of America thinks it's 3 billion by 2060, but that's still a lot of humanoid robots sharing the world with us. And people often ask me, what's going to be the next chat GPT moment, Steve? What's going to be the next moment where we're all shocked and like, wow, it's amazing? I think it'll be when you see a robot walking down the street running an errand for someone. And that's probably within the next 3 years. So robots are going to free us from robotic work, dirty, dangerous, dull work. And the other thing is they also work for electrons. They don't take sick pay, they don't take leave, they will work. As long as you can keep them charged up, they'll work all the time, right round the clock for you. So Vinod Khosla, a storied VC and tech guy, says in the next 15 to 20 years, bipedal robots will be a larger industry in dollars than the current global auto industry. This is a huge new industry that's about to explode into the world. So I wanted to let you know about it. Even if it doesn't shape the future of your business, you should know this is coming. So what do you do with all this? Well, the first thing to know is tomorrow's workforce is going to be a blend of human workers, digital workers, agents, and robot workers. As Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, put it, today's CEOs are the final generation of executives leading exclusively human workforces. Integrating AI agents into daily operations will become a leadership skill that separates companies that thrive from those that fall behind. So how do you do it? You use this thing called process orchestration. What you do is you model all of the business processes in your company, and you break them down as granular as you can go into tasks. And you ask the question, which of these tasks is still best done by a human, which is best done by an agent, and which is best done by a robot? And for the tasks that are best done by an agent, which is best to be done as an offload, which is best done as an extend, which is best done as an elevate, partnering with the human. And once you've done that, look for places that you can shorten the timeline, because now you can have these things working in parallel. And also ask the question, which of these decisions still needs to be made by a human, and where are the decisions that I can offload to an AI or an agent that has the right data to make a high-quality decision? And you do this because each of them has different strengths and weaknesses. If you're wondering what you tell your kids or your grandkids about how to stay relevant in the AI era, it is to double down on your humanity. Focus on the skills that you see on the left here, that only the humans have, and probably only will have for the foreseeable future. I promised you an example of customer support at the beginning. This is an example from a large enterprise software company. I know who it is, but I can't say. It's an HBR study. What they found was when they paired an AI agent with a human customer support person, surfacing issues, listening on the call, but surfacing ideas of how to answer the call for them, what they found was that productivity went up, issues resolved went up, chat times went down, agent turnover, which was the reason they started this in the first place, went down. And interestingly, the more junior, less experienced employees saw a much greater boost in their productivity, up 35%. And customers were happy too. Less expressions of frustration, higher customer satisfaction, so it was a win-win-win. And what comes after that? Human intelligence, human-level intelligence. We may find this happens more quickly than we imagine in a process that's called fast takeoff, where you have an AI that helps you. It's smart enough to now start doing AI research, to develop a new AI, that develops a new AI, and suddenly you have a super AI. So if you feel like this is a chart I liked from a Wait But Why, came out 10 years ago. If it feels like this, that the world is about to change in a dramatic takeoff, you have understood what I'm telling you today. There is an express train of change coming at us all. And I hope I've got you ready to think about how you ride that train rather than get run over by it. Peter Diamandis says there are going to be two types of companies at the end of the decade. Those that are fully utilizing AI and those that are out of business. That may be slightly hyperbolic, but it's directionally absolutely true. So moving forward, what do you do? Firstly, remember that AI isn't going to replace your job, but someone using AI might. Or somebody using AI might get that promotion that you wanted. It is up to you to embrace AI and figure out how to use it so that you can do what you do better. So make the time to learn about this, because talking to AI might be the most important skill of this century. Make time in your day, make time in your week. You're all busy, so if you don't, you need to learn how to use these tools. If you're looking for what tools to try, I recommend trying Perplexity. If you've not tried AI for the first time, try Perplexity. It's like search and AI have a baby. I used it to figure out what car to buy, what headphones to buy. It's just amazing. It's really cool. If you write a lot for work, use Grammarly. Helps you to be less verbose, helps you to make sure that you sound professional when you write. It just runs in the background, helps you to improve your communication. And if you want to add voice and an agent to answer questions on your website, try 11 Labs. Or try Leashed AI, our sponsor for today, to add these capabilities to your website so that people think you've entered the modern age if you haven't done this already. So to wrap this up, because I know we're over time. Hopefully I've got you ready to start surfing each of these waves. I've prepared you for the fact that 2025 is going to be the year when all these agents start to show up, and they're going to roll out in 2026. And we could see more technologically driven change in the next 5 years than the last 50. But amongst all of this change, how are you going to elevate your business and your life, your personal life, with AI? How are you going to use AI to grow your franchise? If I can be helpful, I write a newsletter. You're welcome to sign up for free. It's written by me, not by an AI. It's written in business people language. It's not written in nerd speak. So it's accessible for everybody. I'm doing a lot of research. I figured I might as well just do a newsletter for everybody to enjoy. So you're welcome to sign up for that at synthetic.stevebrown.ai. I also created an online resource for people who just want to know about AI. I know afterwards people are going to want to ask me, well, what book should I read? What podcast should I listen to? The way you find out is you go to that URL there. I think you have to put an email address. We never use it, just so the spammers stay out. And it gives you access to tools to try, podcasts to listen to, videos to watch, white papers to read, all of the things. And I keep it updated. So I hope that is a useful resource for you. With all this change that is coming our way, all this technological-driven change, it can be disconcerting. I wanted to be open and honest with you about today, but the opportunity is huge to turbocharge everything that you do, to elevate your customer experience, to elevate your employee experience, so they love coming to work more every day. And the last thing I want to leave you with is, in all of this technological landscape of change, the future is still human. Thank you for your time and attention today. Enjoy the rest of the conference.